Hi, this is Jay Polding with Revit in Plain English, and I wanted to explain a post that I did through a video, and this was done on August 25th, and it's void visibility parameter in family. So the idea is that you can't switch on and off voids in families, and this creates a bit of a problem. So let me show you how we figured this one out. First of all, I did some checking on Augie because I was looking for a particular formula which would allow us to switch something on and off, switch a void on and off. And Patrick's, the mask person, they did a great job at providing a little sample, and I want to thank them first of all. So let's take a look at what we did. So I ended up doing just a very simple example here just for the video, and if I just click on this object, the idea is that I want to miter the end. So if I just uncheck void cut or check void cut, then it's cutting the end. And then that should adjust with the size of the object. So if I were to go in and maybe adjust it to completely different, maybe I duplicate it, make a different copy, I'll say 150 by 800 by 125, just mixing it up. Okay, so then it still is going to have a void cut, or a void cut, but actually it's a miter. Okay, so how was this done? Well, let's do this, but what we'll do is we'll cut from the other side. So you can do a void 1 and a void 2, sort of like a right and a left or an inside-outside. Okay, so here we are in the family. You can see it's just a simple extrusion, and then there's the void right there. So I'm going to go to the front elevation, and I'm going to draw in some reference planes, just one here, and then one here. And I'm going to do a little dimension to this. So this right here is going to represent the height of the void, and that's just the height of the object. So I'm going to make it the same parameter. So it's going to be this right here. Now I'm going to make another parameter, which this is the parameter D2 that I was explaining in the blog posting. This controls how far the void is, so this will be the bottom of the void. We're looking at it in the front. So if this is 0, it'll go down and it'll cut it. If D2 is something else, then it's going to be higher than the object and it won't cut it. So we want to be fairly precise, so we're going to go from that reference plane to that reference plane, and we're going to just make that one D3 because I've already done D2. So I'll say add parameter. We'll call this one D3. Okay, so if we were to adjust D3 to 0, it would go down into the object. If we were to adjust it to 100, it'll go above the solid. But how do we drive that with a switch? And that's really where that great formula helped me out, and I'm going to share that with you. So if I could just go in here now and draw my void. So I'm going to go to Home, and I'll go to Void Extrusion, and I'm going to just pick these reference planes and then lock to them. And then I'm just going to draw that out of 45, and then we'll just trim this up. Good. And we'll say finish, and now we have another void. And if we go to the front elevation again, and we can just hover over it, we can see, sometimes it's hard to see voids. There it is there. It is cutting it, but it's just sort of cutting it wildly. So what I'm going to do is just move up this D3 to about 200, just so those reference planes are well outside my other reference planes, and then I'll just lock those on. So there's a lock, and I'll just drag that up to there and then lock that. Good. So we're almost there. If we go now to our family types, we can refer to another parameter. So let's just make another parameter, and we're going to make this a yes, no. So it's a switch. This is a turn off and on. I'm going to group it under dimensions, just so it's with everything else. D's right there. And we're going to call this one void cut 2. We're going to make that an instance. Okay, so there it is. And let's also make sure that D3, just modify it. I want that to be an instance. Good. Okay, so here's where that parameter comes in. It's simple, but simple once you have it laid out for you. So I'm going to say if void cut, so if the yes no parameter, if void cut 2, if that is checked, then the factor is 0 millimeters. But if it's not checked, then it's D1, and that's that reporting parameter, which is in essence, it's just H. Okay, so it's just the height of the object, but it could be anything that you want. So now let's just try this out. So click outside of it. Looks like it's happy so far. If we were to just change this parameter, you can see how it's going from 0 to 100. If we were to check this void cut 2, it's adjusting D3 to go from 0 to 100 just by checking it. Okay, we'll leave it checked on and we'll say OK. And we can always test it right here, but I always like to test it inside of a project, so I just like to load it in. I'll overwrite the values here. We'll click on that. So we could say uncheck both of them and it's not mitered. Check one of them and it's let's say that's the inside. Then we uncheck the other one and check this one. Now it doesn't look like it's working. Let's find out why. Okay, just flipping back here. And we'll go to a 3D view of our element. Let's just try checking that off. Okay, so it is going up. Let's just save that, and then I'll load it in and overwrite the values again. Okay. Void 1. Okay, so after some checking, I found what was wrong with this. And you always have to watch this with families. I was dimensioning to the wrong reference plane. So I should have been referencing this plane down at the bottom when I actually was referencing another plane. So always watch that. So when it went down, when D3 went to 0, it was stopping here. So let's just save that again and load that in, overwrite. Okay, so now we can click on the object. Maybe we just do a shaded just so we can see what it is. Okay, so that's not mitered. That's inside. That's outside. Now we could take these parameters further and have maybe one which have a little bit more explanation in these. So maybe we could call one inside, outside, and then have another one called no miter. And you could use more conditional statements in order to control that. But for now, that's basically explaining what this is all about, having these parameters. There's the formula right there, and you can give this a try on your own.